Hi everybody, welcome back to this briefing. Really excited for this one. We did a part one of this, which was the in-the-box native Microsoft agent, and that gave some idea of what you can do with the straight agent in the box. But this is, I think, the more exciting conversation. We're going to talk line of business agent use cases. Again, I've got Chris and Alev. Now with your FY26 new titles, if you want to introduce yourself with your new titles.
Yes. Hi everyone, my name is Alev Tamer. I am a new Senior Copilot Solutions Engineer aligned with industrial and pharmaceutical territories or industries. Chris?
Yeah, hi everyone, Chris Wheeler, another Copilot Solutions Engineer. I'm aligned to healthcare for this financial year, for this FY.
Awesome. So there's been a lot of title changes inside of Microsoft, really focusing on this agent and helping customers with Copilot opportunity. But obviously, this is a conversation we've been having way before this FY, and I know you both have been doing stuff with customers. So where do we begin the conversation? Like, everybody's hearing the word agent and line of business use cases. Where do we even begin that conversation?
So maybe begin with type of agents that they can be built with either Microsoft 365 capabilities, which we called declarative agents. They act like mostly chatbots. Then when you think about line of business agents, you can actually build autonomous and customized agents using Copilot Studio, which will be the topic for today. And those are low-code agents. And if you would like to build pro-code agents, then we start talking about or moving things with Azure AI Foundry.
Awesome. So kind of three tiers. So kind of declarative, which is essentially like a text file shaping what Copilot is doing, then the kind of Copilot Studio type scenario, and then into the pro-code scenario. Have I got that right? Kind of three tiers?
I'd say so, yeah. It also is dependent on what it is the customers are trying to achieve, where there's a lot of really great things happening with things like citizen development for personal productivity. So, we spoke last time about using Agent Builder, which is like a personal agent that you can build for your own purposes. And, there is an element of sharing. But from a business process perspective, what else is it that you're trying to achieve for more org-wide, KPIs or typical processes that might involve different departments or different types of personas? So we're seeing a lot more creativity and more intricate flows and things being built inside a Copilot Studio, or as Alev mentioned, pro code using Azure AI Foundry, or the agent toolkit using Visual Studio Code.
Yeah, I love the low code, no code scenario. Like I've always tinkered with Power Automate and Power Apps, and our Change Pilot product is all built around Power Apps, and suddenly it unlocks, like, we've got people who are experts in those areas, but suddenly unlocks me, who's a non-expert, to use the AI to start to build stuff or shape stuff or design stuff. And it's like a huge unlock with Power Automate as well. I'm doing so much cleverer stuff with Power Automate because I can be like, oh, I've hit this error. How do I fix it? How do I fix it? So I think we're still in the early days of that. But as AI gets more integrated into those scenarios, the ability for a kind of a no-code or low-code person to build a solution is getting really exciting.
Definitely. And when we introduced the Frontier Firm, which will have like three pillars, so we will give Copilot or generative AI tools as a human AI assistant. And then we are planning to evolve from having digital agents or digital colleagues, and then we are expecting firms to human-led and agent-operated. So again, we are not trying to remove human, we are trying to empower human with the AI tools.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's worth getting across early that's really interesting is with Copilot Chat, which is included in all the O365 and 365 licenses, you can overlay agent scenarios on top of that. So you're not gated by, I need my users to have the M365 Copilot license. Actually, anybody with Office 365 or Microsoft 365 can get started on this journey, which is potentially straight line of business conversations, which is really exciting.
Yeah, and that's really important if you wanted to provide that UI. Obviously Copilot being the UI for AI, which is great, but there might be other situations where maybe you don't want Copilot to be that user interface. It might be that you want it just as like a web app or a mobile app or even like a Teams app. And as well as that, there's situations where you don't even need to send a prompt. An agent can just automate in the background as soon as like an email lands in an inbox, or as soon as a file gets updated, or maybe like a table gets refreshed in SQL. There's loads of things that can happen where I don't need to instruct an agent anymore. It just works in the background for me. So that's that kind of that agent-led approach with, maybe there might be a bit of human interaction around validation and checking, but ultimately things get handled primarily by agents.
Yeah, like fully autonomously as opposed to the user prompting through the scenario. That's interesting.
Yes. And now we introduced agent-agent conversation as well as custom engine agents. So we are trying to remove just any kind of possibilities to only use one tool. So they will be able to select their own models, have multiple agents talking to each other, just automating tasks.
Yeah, that ability to have different specialist agents interact with each other with agent to agent, and then also MCP I'm really excited about, which is them being able to hit line of business applications through MCP is really interesting.
Yeah, that specialization is something like we've been working a lot in this field because ultimately I think I made a LinkedIn post a while ago about a bit of cognitive overload as well. So as we are sort of learning how to build agents, there will become a point where maybe it might be that you're giving one agent too much to do, or maybe an agent has got too much data to look at. So we're sort of looking at sort of breaking that down a lot more into like modular sections. So Alev mentioned where an agent could call upon another agent for just one specific task, where it doesn't have to deal with like 5 or 6 different things, where accuracy might drop, or maybe it might have a little bit of hallucination, or just something's happening where, when you break it down more structurally and when you've got that specialization, you get better outcomes as well. And that's not just around calling agents, but Alev mentioned around the models as well, where there might be a better model that can handle a particular task than another. So there's a lot of really cool things happening, and it's just like there's no one size fits all, which is...
And architecturally, if you're on multiple agents, you can switch those models out. So maybe in 6 or 9 months, there's a way better model for that scenario where it's pulling information out of a document, or this scenario where it's interacting. That's, as you say, you can mix and match models, which is really exciting.
And when we did our research, 87% of the leadership of companies, they are expecting to release more and more digital colleagues like agents, and it will be a part of our lives.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing that with the customers I work with, like it's definitely a business level conversation, both in the sense of trying to get their head around how they maximize efficiency with these tools and add value, and also not being left behind. Like we're all on this AI frontier journey, and relative to your industry, you want to make sure you're in the mix and not left behind. So it's one of these times in IT where we're actually having business level conversations, which is great. So Chris, I know you've got some stuff to show us. Where do we begin?
I think we're talking about the models, so bring your own model would be quite good to show. So I've got a demo, so I'm just going to share my screen.
While you are sharing your screen, one of my favorite models is DeepSeek.
Yeah, this is a good thing to level set for everybody. Like we talk a lot about Copilot, obviously, and you can use Copilot, but with these agent scenarios, we have a whole range of models on Azure, and you can pick and choose which one suits you best for your scenario. So actually, you're building, an agent scenario, but you might entirely be using DeepSeek or Grok or one of the other models. I don't know, we're up to like tens, if not hundreds of models now on AI Foundry. It's pretty awesome how many options there are.
And we also released our agent kit and SDKs, so you'll be able to just plug into different third-party applications and also different systems like SAP, Salesforce enable to do those kinds of actions. So this is where custom engine sits in.
Yeah, so the bring your own model elements we can bring straight into like Copilot Studio. So I was just doing something in healthcare recently where I just thought, I just wanted to have an agent that could just answer questions. And if the question was on a particular subject, I could bring in a specific model that was really good for that subject. So literally all I've done here is said, all right, okay, this is the actual model which lives in this prompt here. And this topic triggers when the user asks a certain question. So I can grab the last message, which is the variable, and that's the last message the user answered. But if I go
what's the interface for the end users on this, Chris? Where would they be accessing this agent?
So this is where it gets quite interesting, because you can choose if you want this to appear in Copilot. You can have this as a Teams app. It could be a mobile app, a website. You can embed it in SharePoint. You've got a load of different options with Copilot Studio. So this is kind of like what's happening in the background. It'll still feed through that prompt from the interface, whatever the user wants to put in. But yeah, it's really down to you. So if I just quickly come out of this, I'll just show you exactly where this is. So in channels, the options you've got it keeps growing. Actually, we keep adding like new options on here. So it's not just Microsoft. It could be like Facebook, Slack, Genesis, ServiceNow. The one that I mainly use is Teams and M365 Copilot. So that's where, say if I go into Microsoft Teams right now, you've got this like, you can deploy it as an agent like this, like an Oracle Primavera. Over here, I've got an orientation assistant, or inside of Copilot on the right-hand side, it could be like a declarative an agent on,
so it feels like a mini app to the user. It has an icon. I know where to go to use it.
Yeah, exactly. But if I just quickly go back into topics again, I just used fertility research because this is something quite close to my heart at the moment. But what's happening here is that I'm just taking the text input from the user, and I've just added a little bit more into the prompt saying you must respond to this question. But over here, the model that I'm using is a DeepSeek model. So down here, I've spun up this model inside of Azure AI Foundry, and I haven't done anything else. Haven't got another agent that's saying, look, inside of this DeepSeek, you should be doing A, B, and C. This is just the model itself, which is all I need because the model's great. It's been pre-trained on loads of stuff. It's a deep thinking model. So to show you this working, basically...
And this is for people following along, this is DeepSeek, the open source project that Microsoft have taken and are running on Azure. So it's not, there's DeepSeek, the service from them who made the model, and then there's the open source version. So this is like all within Azure the whole way through.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. So what I've just asked is, can you let me know about the latest advancements in fertility treatment? The agent will then trigger this topic, and then this response here, this is all the DeepSeek responses. I haven't asked it to look at any websites. This is just the model itself. So it's giving me some really good sorts of options that I could look at, and I can ask it more about, okay, tell me more about option 9, for example. So in terms of like this result, this is actually quite interesting, because if I then compare that with, say, using Copilot, I've asked it the same question. Now, I've given Copilot a little bit of a disadvantage I've given it an advantage, because this is actually going to be looking at certain websites as well, because I haven't turned off web search. But as you can see here, it's given me some different options around, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's given me 5 options, whereas DeepSeek's given me 10. But it might be that my requirements is that I need this to be a lot more expansive. I need it to be a lot more in detail. And it might be that this model has been specifically trained in healthcare, for example. So like, say like, you work in finance, there might be a finance LLM or an SLM that works really good. So you can bring that in instead of relying on those 4.0 or, the 4.1 models that Copilot uses in particular. So yeah, it really depends on those sort of use cases, but it gives you the opportunity to do more research over, well, actually, we really like the OpenAI, the 4.0s, the 4.1s, the 4.5s, but actually for this particular use case, we really want, Grok or DeepSeek or something else. And you can do that and bring it into Copilot Studio.
Yeah, and bringing the reasoning models is really interesting, isn't it? Like there's such a leap in capability, particularly when you're doing things that are in the background or asynchronous. So where the answer response models like the 4.0 type thing is good for end users because it's pinged back and forth really fast. If you're running an agent scenario in the background, you can happily have it run for 5 or 10 minutes doing really intense research and report creation, and it'll just ping the results when you're ready.
Yeah,
and it will help with domain-specific tasks, and you'll be able to just get the results exactly as you want.
That's awesome. So I'm going to ask the tricky question. How's this work commercially?
So this is all based on 2 elements. So you've got an element with Copilot Studio because you're interacting with it. And then, of course, if you have got an M365 Copilot license, some bits are consumed by that user license. But when you start to bring in your own model, you then start to consume Azure resources, basically. So once you spin up that model, it will then give you a price list of, okay, if you use DeepSeek, this will cost you for every interaction or for a certain amount of tokens or however the model's built, this will be the cost of using that. So you've got to feed in the Azure consumption, and then you've got to feed in the Copilot Studio consumption as well. So that will be covered by either having an M365 Copilot license if you deploy it inside of Copilot. But then for non-licensed users, you then start consuming these messages. And you can do that once again through having Azure subscriptions, or you can buy those Copilot Studio message packs. It's usually like, it's a tenant wide. I think each pack is like 25,000 messages for, I think our standard retail price is like $200 a month.
Yeah, it's really good to understand that there's a few variables there depending on whether you're in your Copilot license or not, and that on the consumption models, it's obviously going to relate to how heavily you're using these agents.
Yeah, I mean, we're completely transparent with the whole billing elements as well. So we've got the visibility to say, look, for each run through, this should cost around 10p, 15p. Obviously, the deeper reasoning models will probably go into the pounds, depending on what it's doing. So that plays a part with, okay, within Azure you'll have like the cost estimator in there as well. So each time you use this agent, it'll cost you however so much, and you've got that nice forecasting model in Azure. With Copilot Studio, that's all going through the Power Platform Admin Center. So it'll give you a list of inside all of your environments. This is your agent. This agent has consumed 200 messages this month. And then if you want to go even deeper into whatever the agent's doing, then we've obviously got all the purview capabilities, where if you deploy that agent inside of Teams, Copilot, you'll be able to use like DSPM to see all the activities that you're interacting with that agent, whatever the agent's doing and responding with as well. So there's a lot of different elements of reporting or the billing side of things, but all of it is quite easily manageable.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing, isn't it? As we get lots and lots of these agents in play, I mean, if they're being used, then there's a use case for them. So you know the use case, but you're going to have to start to understand, well, actually, this one's getting really heavily used. Could we optimize it, for example, or could we change it, or can we improve it because it's driving so much business value? So I think that's one measure. Usage is one measure of this is hit a sweet spot for the business because they're actually getting value out of it.
So here's another agent I built when I was working in public safety, national security. And effectively, this is kind of where it can get a lot more complex. And you mentioned about the optimization piece, where I built an agent that is quite modular in terms of this is quite a lengthy flow of what it is the agent's doing. And effectively what I've done is we've built like this like case file checker where the main requirement of a case file checker is accuracy. And we built this in Agent Builder before, and we gave it a load of things to do, and it did a good job, but it kept like missing a few certain bits and pieces off the checker, and like there were things around file standards. So this is something else where there's a lot of things going on here. To kind of summarize, what happens is I input, it locates each file that you input into it, and then it processes just that one file through a prompt. And at the moment, it's just a 4.0 model. What I've then done is just to clean things up, I've taken each and every response from the individual models, and I've then just tidied it up. I put it through a 4.1 mini model. And the 4.1 mini is only like 1 pence or like one message to actually go through. But actually the actual output is quite important. So this case file checker, when I ran this through, I think there's something like 160 messages, but actually the impact and the business impact of doing this could save absolutely thousands, if not tens of thousands of pounds of time and resources, or like, maybe inspectors or sergeants having to go through and check things as well. So like the first thing it does is gives you a summary of what's happened with the case files. So when a crime happens, you have this. I didn't actually realize how much paperwork police officers actually have to do. Like you see in the movies where they go, "Oh, I've got so much paperwork." It's actually true. They've got so much to do, and they've basically got like witness statements. They've got evidence summaries. Got loads of things going on. So it's a lot of things they have to go through. And if say like someone's taken over a new case, what this does is this just gives you an overall summary of what's actually happened. So instead of me reading through like 15, 20 documents, it just gives me a basic, this is what's happened recently. These are the things, the CCTV footage. This is the overall amount of stuff that's been stolen. So it does a good job of doing that. But the main thing here, the requirement, is the case file for the national file standards. Now, a lot of times when case files get sent to Crown prosecution, it gets rejected for whatever reason, because they go through everything with a fine-tooth comb. And the police officers, they just don't have enough time to check every single case file for little intricate little details. And that could be just as simple as just there's a signature missing. Or the other piece as well is they have like a guilty or not guilty anticipation plea. And they might say, oh, yeah, this person's definitely guilty. But actually looking through the evidence, it might be that the defendant maybe gives you a not guilty plea. And therefore, there's a lot of additional work having to go through it. So this kind of goes through everything with a fine tooth comb. And I basically use this emoji reference to say, look, if there's anything that's untoward or anything that's, a fail, give you a cross. So it goes through every single file to say, look, this is what's missing. This is what's missing from the 6C, the Ds, the Es, all these different things which have different relevance. Basically, it just summarizes all of that, where it goes through, and the accuracy is a very, very high level as well. So
it's interesting there, isn't it, that you're using the 4.1 mini model, which is like a cheaper model, but actually better for that use case. And we use the mini model for we review all the message into messages, and same thing, we looked at the deep reasoning models, but actually that was the perfect model for summarizing information.
Yeah, so the 4.1 mini is great. At the moment, it doesn't support file variables. So it recognizes string, so recognizes text. Before like summarizing any files, we're using the 4.0 model to begin with to have a look at those files and get the outputs. And then the 4.1 mini is getting all of those outputs from all of those things, and just like I said, it's just tidying it up a lot more efficiently, because there's a lot of text coming out of the 4.0 models. I can't put it all in one message for the response. I'm just going to tidy that up, get to the things that matter, and then just ensure that high level of accuracy in there. So yeah, there's a lot of things that this agent's doing, but I think the message I'm trying to drive is that this is really customizable. I'm controlling every single flow. I'm telling what each step is doing. If needed, I can set like a new action in here. Sorry, let's just zoom in a bit more actually, so over here, I could say, right, at this point, I'm going to run a connector. So I need to update an Excel file. I need to get forecast from the weather. I've got different tools where I can then say, right, I'm going to add in, say, like a different connector, a prompt, an automated workflow. We've got MCP in here as well. So this is where I can call upon loads of different MCP servers now if needed.
MCP I'm super excited about. So for everybody's context, MCP is like a wrapper around APIs of other services so that AI agents can play nicely with them. So we'll see MCPs and we already are seeing MCPs for a lot of third parties we want to integrate to. Microsoft Learn has got an MCP, for example, to go and research their data.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of things you can do, things like REST API connectors as agent flows. Very soon we're also going to have things like computer use in here as well. So
let's talk about that, Chris, because that's exciting.
I'll explain that, because it's really exciting.
It's just like having a virtual machine, but it knows you give them some snapshots, and it knows when to click, when to do things, when to fill out forms, and it will just do it for you.
So it's literally like, as the name suggests, like it's giving the AI a constrained VM scenario to click buttons and do things. So in theory, that could be log into a web portal and look up information, or interact with a web app. And this is an opportunity where if we don't have API coverage or an MCP, another way to engage.
So think about able to use computer views.
Yeah, so think about like legacy apps, which maybe like the publishers have gone into administration years and years ago. It's like, no one's updating this anymore, but it has loads of rich information. And it may be that you can't patch up into like the database that sits in the background. You always have to go through the front door. So with this computer use, you basically give it snapshots to say, as soon as this page opens, you're going to click here, here, and here. You're going to download that, and then we can grab those files or the information, like the reports it produces. So yeah, it's going to be a real sort of, a game changer in essence, but obviously no, there's going to be no application left behind. There's always going to be some ways that we can interact with anything just to get what we need, especially in the terms of an agentic process where it is automated. Don't have to worry about doing it myself and wasting time. My agent can do that for me.
That's great. And this is with the scenario, Chris, where you were saying you could then bring in multiple agents and multiple models into these flows.
Yeah, exactly. So what I've got here is there's a new tab in Copilot Studio called Agents. So in this one here, obviously, this is like a case file tool. But what I do like is that idea of like a hero agent, where you might then just have like a police assistant at the very beginning, and maybe a question comes in saying, can you help me with my case files? Now, I'm not going to train this police assistant to check case files. That is going to be this agent. So actually what's going to happen is that when this agent decides to use this other agent, it will call upon that police assistant and say, hey, I've just been asked a question. I'm going to let you handle that. You come back to me, and I'm going to give that back to the end user. So yeah, it's really great like hierarchy where we can then break it down into those specializations. At the moment, the only trigger that's available is by the agent itself, but very soon we're going to see this ability where I'm going to set up a topic where I can then say, right, as soon as this happens, then call upon this agent. And at the moment as well, when I go to look at adding an agent, we've got create an agent using Copilot Studio. We can do that. Very, very soon we'll have Azure AI Foundry agents and also agents built using the SDK as well. So that's coming fairly soon.
So talk us through those three, Chris or Alev. What's the scenarios for why would I choose one over the other?
So for the Copilot Studio, you can just automate things, and that's the low-code one. For Azure AI Foundry, you get to do pro-code agents. So you can actually select multiple agents, orchestration, and other things. With Microsoft 365 SDK, you'll be able to have the new version of Teams AI library. So you'll be able to bring any kind of third-party system into one place, and the user interface will be either Copilot or Microsoft Teams, so depending on the choice.
That's good to understand.
It's cool because like the Azure AI Foundry piece is, we mentioned about bringing your own model, and this is where obviously I've just trying to show here that you can have there's 11,000 different models that are available. So I think I just used that.
I was slightly under in the hundreds then.
Just a little bit. So yeah, there's loads of different models, but I think the next piece here is that it's not just the models inside of AI Foundry. You build your agents in here as well, where you own a lot more of the orchestration, the training, the behavior around that. So you can build these agents inside of AI Foundry. You can publish it as a web app or like a Teams app, but you own a lot more of that from ground up, basically. And what we're basically saying is back into Copilot Studio, instead of you having to build that agent inside of Copilot Studio, you've already built it in AI Foundry. But coming soon, you'll be able to use that, where once again it will call upon that agent and bring it in. Right,
so it's kind of bringing those worlds together so we can integrate them as well.
Yes, I always tell my customers Copilot is my user interface for AI.
It's awesome to see that there's kind of both options on the table. So like actually there's quite an easy on-ramp into just build an agent in Teams where the customer directly interacts with it, all the way through to this like background automated task, and the results will just appear in the right place doing the right thing for you.
Yeah. So like a really good example of that, I need to switch back over to the NHS one. So this idea of automation is actually quite interesting. So I kind of had this idea that I had an idea around automation, and one of them was if you go onto your local hospital's website, there's a contact form. And actually, there's a team of people that has to respond to things like inquiries and questions that actually the public could just probably find from the website. So, like things like having a topic, for example, where it wasn't a topic; it was a tool right now. So, I basically set a trigger where whenever an email comes into that shared mailbox, what you're going to do is you're going to extract the email address that's found on that form. because usually the email comes from a shared service rather than the actual user themselves. But you extract the email address from the body, you take the rest of the body and pump it through a model that's been trained on your hospital's website, and then you take the response, you put it back into an email, and you send it back to the user using that email address that you extracted. So that's something that you don't need any interaction with at all. It just works in the background. And what you can then do is you can then say, right, if this email is specifically regarding maybe facilities, maybe what time does the cafe open, it can then trigger that specific response. Or once again, it might be that you have a model that responds a lot better if it's like a medical related question or something else.
Or it can make a call. It's like, this seems like a opening hours type question. Just automatically send it and say, this is an AI prompt. Please come back to us if you need further information. Or this one sounds medical. It needs human review. Here's a suggested answer. Like, next step is for the human to make the call.
Yeah, exactly. So you can leave it up to, the agent to fill in, like, the twos, the subjects, the body. Or what you could do is obviously you can go into topics and say, if this is regarding a certain topic, then we're going to trigger that flow. We're going to bring, and then that agent flow is like that Power Automate, where you can do a lot more stuff, where you can pass things, you can do a lot more, you can call upon different connectors. Power Automate's been around for quite a while, so hopefully everyone has got a good flavour of what it can do. But the agent can call upon that functionality to get more out of it.
That's awesome. Alev, from your point of view, working with customers, are there any other scenarios you've seen that are working well in kind of line of business scenarios?
Yes, especially when you start talking with the business, you actually understand their processes and the manual, mundane task they need to do day-to-day basis. So most of our legal customers actually went viral with agents. They reduced due diligence work from 6 months to 6 weeks. So they are now engaging with more customers, and that's the return of investment. Or the HR onboarding process. Sometimes it can take 4 to 5 months to onboard someone or to hire someone. Now, so think about the multiple agents. The onboarding agent can just send out all the onboarding materials, and then they can call IT agent to create the account and provision things. So it's just all about just defining the challenges, the problems, and then just create agents.
Yeah, onboarding is a wicked scenario, because you're at that point you're wanting to ask lots of questions as well. So actually, if your first pass is you can ask the onboarding as a new employee, you can ask the onboarding agent the question. You don't feel like you're hassling a person. Like I'll ask as many questions as I want, and I can always escalate to a person if the agent does have the answer. But that agent can then be fed all the information about business processes, expenses, how this works, how you get into the office. Like that's such a nice way to have a stress-free way to ask questions when you're onboarding.
Yeah, it's just the agentic AI. Now I think we might call it magentic AI with multiple agents.
Have you just coined a new term, Alev? It's changing the industry here. Awesome.
But customers are really excited now. Maybe you know the concept of promptathons. We are actually providing an event called Agentathon, so they can actually learn and create their own agents. And they are just buzzing about reducing the time they spend on sometimes boring tasks.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. You don't have to start by kind of trying to change the entire business. Like, actually start with simple things that are time savers or value adds. That's a great way to learn. Like, I just want to slightly improve this process, and then take that win, and then you can move forward with that. And as you do that, you're getting buy-in from the organization of like, okay, I'll invest more time thinking about this because I can see the value.
And they don't need to start from scratch. We have Microsoft adoption. We have Microsoft 365 agent kits that they can actually see some of the examples. We have great stories, real customer stories with change of agents, and we can just share the link.
Yeah, we'll share all the links below to those things so you can get started. Awesome. Alev, Chris, thanks for decoding that for us. Really great to understand. I feel like this is a topic we're going to have to keep revisiting, right? Because we already know there's a bunch more features coming in the next couple of quarters. So if it's okay with you guys, we'll have you back again, and we can talk about the new features and use cases.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Thanks so much,
Tom.
Thank you.